see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, from Brooklyn.
Hey, get any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Pags, with my co-host, Bo. McLovin will be in at the 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock or whatever hour you are, wherever coast you're on. Yeah, because
the
I know
second hour of the show.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes my words get a little tongue-tied. Good morning, Bo. What's going on?
It's we're getting close to divisional round football, man. I'm excited about it. Got some good games this weekend. Obviously, the comments are already starting with heaters saying Jerry Jones should sell the team. So, so it's a good day.
Hey, I get it. You know what I mean? And it's a shame that McLovin's not here because I'm sure he would have something to say about that today. And we were able to report this. It did come out during our show yesterday. However, it's it's true that he's coming back. The coach is coming back next year.
They're running it back. Crazy.
Surprise. And I love that. I love that because I think he's a terrible coach. But that's beside the point.
It's funny. I really thought they were maybe going to make a move because Jerry did something Jerry never does and avoided the cameras, which makes no sense. Like, Jerry is so about all the spotlights on me, get me in front of the camera as much as possible. And for him to cancel all of those all of the press conferences for this week made you think, hey, maybe there's some wholesale changes coming. And instead, he took that time to say, hey, I realize that we go 12-5 and then become a dumpster fire, but we're running this thing back.
Well, it's so at what point, like I said, as I said yesterday, my thought was that the offense wasn't really the issue, that it was the defense. So, and talking on my show yesterday, the NFC East show, I talking to True Blue, who is a diehard Cowboys fan, goes to all the games. He said yesterday that when he went to the game on Sunday, that he had an eerie feeling similar to how it was when he went to the Phoenix game and the Cowboys went to go play Arizona. And that it almost was like they were looking past them.
Yeah.
So and ultimately that the fan base also was looking past Green Bay. And he was like, I don't know. This team is a good team here. When you make it to the playoffs, every team is good, obviously. And some are hot and some are just limping in. Obviously, the Eagles limped in. The Cowboys weren't really far away from limping in. You know what I mean? They didn't really do anything that said, hey, we have this all under control.
Yep.
Green Bay, however, did win 6 of their last 7 games. Tampa Bay did win, I think, 4 of their last. I think they went 4-0 their last 4 games, or maybe even more than that. So ultimately, these teams were going in hot. The NFC East teams were not going in very well. We definitely both had tough schedules. The Eagles, at the beginning of the season, the Eagles had the toughest schedule in the NFL. That's what it was listed as, the toughest schedule in the NFL. Dallas was, I think, the 4th hardest schedule. That catches up with you. It does. It's these guys are human beings too. And it's like the fact that we went 10-1 to start off was more a testament of those things, but we weren't winning games great. And then at the end of the season, those last 5 games, obviously we got beat by San Francisco. That was just a straight beatdown. Those games that we were winning in the beginning of the season, we were losing. Seattle, That should
Yep.
have been a game that we won. Had it was in the early part of the season, that could have been considered a win because of how we played and back then in comparison to now.
Sure.
So Seattle should have been a win. Arizona should have been a win. Take those two games specifically, and now you're the number one seed, and you're getting the
Sure.
bye. Even limping in, those games are tough. The Jets game at the beginning of the season, I believe, like I said, I believe that they had Phillies fever too. You know what I mean? I feel like if you're in Philadelphia, whether you're an athlete, whether you're just you live here, whether you're passing through, you're stuck watching Philadelphia sports. Just it is what happens. So I feel like that the Eagles were doing the same things, that they were watching the Phillies play. And you could tell that game, they looked exhausted. They looked
Yeah.
like they were hungover. And so ultimately it was like, all right, I you can give them that mulligan. All right, they lost a game, not the biggest deal in the world. We're still at that point 6-1. You win the next 4 games, make it 10-1 and you figure you're rolling. You know what I mean? You got San Francisco, third game in 13 days. They're coming off of a 10-day break. It's just bad timing, you could say. San Francisco's got that big chip on their shoulder from last year. They
Yep.
tried to win the NFC Championship in that game, and they beat the hell out of us. They beat the hell out of us. And you
Yep.
come back the following week, you got Seattle on the road in Seattle. You know what I mean? Again, they're coming off of actually we have Dallas first. We have Dallas first. Again,
Yep.
coming off of a 10-day break. You know what I mean? And we just played a really tough game against San Francisco where we got beat up and you get beat up again by Dallas. Dallas just comes in they were just you could just tell that we aren't all the cylinders aren't pumping.
Yeah.
And then all right, now you're back to normal. You got a normal week like Seattle does. Seattle has a normal week,
Yep.
and we go up to Seattle. We go far away because now it's like now we got 2 games in a row that's on the road,
Mhm.
and so we go to Seattle, and you know we have Drew Lock look like Joe Montana in the last 2 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's just, and you could see that the wheels starting to come off. Unfortunately, like I said, when you look through rose-colored glasses, you do whatever you can to try to find the silver lining or whatever it is that's going on, so that you have the hope of turning it around. And I am definitely one of those guys. I will
Sure.
always
Sure.
look for the positive rather than the negative, and always root for my team. Hey, listen, sometimes it's hard. Like I said, if you watched any of my videos from last year, was I was rooting for the Flyers, saying that the Flyers were going to beat down whatever team they were going to play, and I knew for a fact they weren't going to beat anybody
Yeah,
down.
exactly.
Flyers,
Well, that's
Flyers
like
were
when I do that for the Mariners. When I'm like, the Mariners are going to do something. Like, I know they're not.
right, exactly, because you root for your team. It's fun. It creates the banter for the other
Yeah.
fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, I expect to get some people going, "Are you out of your mind?" You know what I mean? Of course I'm out of my mind. Yes,
Yeah.
it's part of the love that I want to be able to get with that. That's why you engage. I mean,
Yep.
hey, listen, Skip Bayless has done this all of his life. I can't stand him. You know what I mean? I feel
No.
like, first off, I don't even like him as a show guy, like being
No,
having
that
his own show.
me
But
me
that's
either. He's made an entire career of just making people mad, which is proof that haters are your best followers because he has one of the highest rated shows, you know, through sports history, really. And it's because he just annoys people. Because it's
right.
not like anything he says is insightful, really. Like if you watch his show, you're not learning anything. In fact, he finds a way to only talk about the Cowboys for like half of his show, and it's a couple hour show. So I mean, there's nothing that you really take away from that show. But I mean, he built a brand and it works. So I'm not mad at him. I can't watch the show. I find it annoying, but I mean, kudos to him. He did it.
Yep. And you're right. Stephen A. Smith kind of does the same thing. I
For
do
sure.
it on a much smaller scale. Obviously, I try to bring out the fans. Hey, I'm at the game. I
Yeah,
want to give you a little bit of an in-game experience from a guy who's going to be very passionate about
yeah,
the team and try to do whatever I can, however I can, to and have everybody around me enjoy the game and maybe get a couple of the players to start paying attention to me rather than the game so that we could get maybe a sneak score or something like that. It happens. Football is not really easy to make that happen, but it has happened in baseball. It has definitely
sure.
happened in hockey. I there's and sometimes in basketball. Sometimes in
Yeah,
basketball, I'm able to get under a player's skin and I can go ahead and play that. There's other times that there are players that thrive on it. They want it.
yeah.
Like Giannis. Giannis, I was trolling Giannis one game, and he just ate it up, and just kept scoring points, scoring points, scoring points. And then at the end of the game, he sat down at center court like Indian style, like he owned the place. And I'm like, now you're bringing it a little bit too far there. You know what I mean? So,
Well,
but
I mean,
ultimately,
Reggie Miller was one of those dudes. Like,
yeah.
go ahead, keep talking. Let's do this.
Yeah, like I'm a big fan of John Collins from the Atlanta Hawks because he engaged back with me. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
nice.
I mean, it was like it was a playoff game. I'm on the floor, and I'm very rarely on the floor for a basketball game because those tickets are ridiculously expensive.
They
But it was
are.
game one of the Hawks series, and Ben Simmons is at the line. He makes a free throw. So I mean, that whole thing was done alone was a big deal. He made a free throw, and John Collins grabs the ball, squeezes it, dribbles it, squeezes it a little bit. I'm like, Collins, what are you doing touching that ball? You don't need to touch those balls. He turns around, looks at me, grabs his
Yeah.
private area, and blows me a kiss and says, "I like touching the balls."
That's fantastic.
And since then, I've been a fan of his. You know what I
Right?
mean? Because you engaged me. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You took what I was saying and you engaged me. And the Hawks won
But,
that game,
and
by
he
the way.
had some fun with it, right? He had some fun
Exactly.
with it.
Because
So,
I'm
yeah,
not cursing at him. I'm not doing anything bad like that. I mean, I'm very respectful to these players. I want to throw them off their game. I want to be able to make them. Hey, Russell Westbrook hates me. He hates me every time he comes to Philly, and I'm there. I'm on him. I am on him, and he's like, get away from me.
yeah,
The game that he got the popcorn dropped on him, and everybody remembers that. I wasn't the one that dropped the popcorn on him, but he was leaving early that game because he couldn't handle the heckling. I
yeah.
was heckling him so bad, and he just couldn't handle it. And because I'm not doing anything wrong, and it was during COVID. So he's like, just shut this guy up. Shut this guy up. I can't stand it. Oh, I'm doing the Daryl chant on him. Russell,
Yeah.
Russell. And then every time he's got to shoot a foul shot, he's got to look at my face
Yeah.
because I'm that close. I'm like right there in line.
No, no.
Russell, you suck. You know,
We know exactly who you are as the heckler. You're the Billy Madison. You're gonna miss this putt, you jackass.
and that's kind of it. Except, like I said, I don't curse. I want to make
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And even though, hey, he had that thing with the West brick. I didn't even go there. I didn't need, you know what? I don't need to. If that's something that pokes you, if that pokes the bear, I'm not trying to poke the bear. I'm not trying to. I'm
Sure.
not trying to anger you in a way that you feel offended. I
Yeah.
want to get under your skin, though.
Yeah.
Jeremy Swayman from the the Boston Bruins. He's a goalie. That goalie is soft as peanut butter. He's as soft as peanut butter. I'll sit there and I'll start busting his. Hey, those pants make you look fat. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like those are the things
Yeah.
because you when you yell that and even the players start to giggle a little bit because
Sure.
it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
Like out of all the things that you hear, hey, you're a loser, blah 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 blah. I mean, they hear all of that. When you hear something that's just really kind of light, that it kind of makes you laugh a little bit.
Oh, for
Like when
sure. For sure.
every time that Wayne Simmons would come back with a different team, I would talk about how it's time for him to get to the senior assist living home. You know what I mean? Those are those are jokes that are fun. And it's, it gets everybody else. And if you say the right thing, the players start to use that. If they see it gets a little bit of a reaction, the players start going at it and using it
Absolutely.
to their advantage. So it's fun to do that type of stuff. That all being said, you know, I don't have any outcome unless I get under like a goalie's skin. Like when I got under Jeremy Swayman's skin, he gave up 6 goals that game. You know
Oof.
what I mean?
That's a rough day.
That was a rough day. All 6 scored on my side of the ice. So the first and the third period, he gave up all 6 goals. When he was on the second period, I wasn't down that way. He didn't hear me, so he didn't have that problem. It was, and I called. I'm like, "Hey, you're going to let up this shorthanded goal? Here it comes, goal! Yeah, I told you, you're soft as pin." He didn't just going nuts. That's
Yeah.
hysterical. It's and then you got him. Now you got him, and I get sections of people yelling, "Jeremy, Jeremy." I mean, it's just when you start calling people by their first name, and like I said, I'll Wikipedia them so that if they live home with mom and they like spaghetti and
Yeah.
meatballs for dinner, I'll sit there and I'll bust their balls about that. Just like when Juan Soto, not that it affected his game in any way, but when Juan Soto was with the Padres in the game that we clinched, it was 2-1, and then we hit he hit that home run to take the lead. That was the Harper home run to take the lead. I'm sitting there and I'm yelling to Soto. His mother made the team meals for the Washington Nationals when they went and won the World Series.
Oh, okay.
So I'm yelling to him, and you got guys yelling, "Hey, F this, F that," like all the expletives at him, and he's not paying attention. He's hearing it, but
Yeah.
and then I yell, "I guess your mom ain't cooking dinner for you, cooking dinner for this team, is she?" And he gave one of those little, I'm not going to turn around to acknowledge this, but now I want to kind of see out of the corner of my eye as strong as I can who it was that said that. So those are the things that that can throw them off just a touch.
Oh, for
And
sure.
that's what you want to do. You want to be able to disrupt their thought process.
Well,
In the
and
game.
some of them, are extraordinarily thin-skinned about it, right? Like Kevin Durant's probably the best example of that, right? Having burner accounts and going after people on Twitter and stuff like that. It's hilarious to think that he does that because what? I mean, why? But
because they're human beings too. They
totally are.
Similar to me. It's very similar to me. And for the first year of me doing this in that way, I acknowledge the haters. I acknowledge the hate, and ultimately, as creative as I could be on telling people to go F themselves, you know what I mean, without telling them that, I would always be the one that would get in trouble and get suspended for bullying when I'm calling them a dum dum. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the one that's bullying.
It's never the first one.
Yeah, I'm the one that's bullying after they just said all this stuff and whatever. It's that's what it is. See, Draymond Green, talking to Draymond Green, if I had the chance to do Draymond Green, I'd be more afraid that he'd come in after me.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that he'd come up
Malice
into
in the Palace too.
Yeah. So
come out swinging.
I mean, and listen, I would have his full attention. Trust me. If he was going to come after me, I'm not going to back down. So I mean, he may mess up my makeup a little bit, but I'm going to make sure that he gets what's coming to him too if he wants to come in like that. But like I said, I'm not doing anything that's going to create the violence. I don't want to create the violence. It's not a matter of fighting these people. These are human beings. Like I said, I would never attack their family in any way, shape, or form, their children or stuff like that. And there's some people that do that.
No, for sure.
I never will condone it.
You got to keep it about the game because I mean that's all it is. I always like any of the people that like go directly after the players. I mean, those are the ones I don't feel bad for them when they get kicked out. It's like make it about the game. As soon as you start yelling stuff about their family and their kids and stuff like that, like there's no place for that in sports. Period. So I mean, Yeah.
That's why
So,
even when you hear LeBron James. Now I love heckling LeBron James, and if you
sure.
heckle right, he will come back at you. Like he will go back and forth. And listen, and if you do it right, again, these are human beings. They use that to fuel them sometimes, and
Of course.
so does he. He uses that to fuel himself. So he will go back and forth with the banter as long as it's respectful. The moment that you say, "Hey, I want your kid to get hit by a truck," I mean, like that one lady said,
Yeah.
or something about hope your family gets cancer or whatever. Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? Like, that's so disrespectful, and
Yeah.
karma gets back at people like that. You know what I mean?
For
So
sure.
I would never want to do that because ultimately, like I said, if I after the game, if I could go have a beer with them, I would
Of
absolutely
course.
love to do so. You know what I mean? It's like
Absolutely.
I don't need to play these games in terms of, hey, yeah, you suck and that's it, and my team's better and blah blah blah. But here's my diatribe of being a super fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
No,
been
I
fun.
I mean, I'm with you because you absolutely want to heckle and you want to talk, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the game, it's the end of the game. That's it. Like,
Right.
it's done.
So, and ultimately it's okay. Yeah, we got it. We lost or we won, and we'll get you next time. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's
exactly.
because I'll be honest, different from a lot of other Philadelphia fans. And I'm not saying that how they do it is correct or incorrect. I don't wear the losses.
Yeah,
I don't do it. They don't pay me enough money to care about these losses enough. Well, will I be disappointed? Absolutely.
of course.
It's like, hey, when I was at the World Series and we lost, that stunk. And then to go to the Super Bowl and lose, that stunk. And it stings. It hurts. It stings.
Yeah,
But you congratulate the other team. You congratulate all the fans who want to come up and run up and put a camera in my face because I'm that guy
sure.
and you're just gracious. It's like, hey, listen, you guys beat us. You guys deserve this. Stay safe as you're partying the night. And when you say
Yeah,
that to somebody, it catches them off guard. It's like, hold on, you're from Philadelphia. Where's all the stuff about you telling me that I suck and my family sucks? And like, yeah, buddy. Enjoy yourself tonight. Have a good one.
you're like,
And it's
I mean, you might. I just don't know you. I don't know.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know what I mean? I have the saying I have on my Twitter or X is like uh, passion without respect is just a lot of noise.
Yeah,
And that they have to go hand in hand. You can have a lot of passion, but if you don't have the respect of the other team and the fact that there's other people that are just as passionate as you are, it
exactly.
just becomes noise. And that there's never a truer statement.
Mhm.
So that was one of the ones I came up with myself. So I was like, hey,
Hey,
pat myself on the back for that one. But it's true. It's absolutely true. You have to have the respect of the other team and the other players and such because they
and
are
the other
professionals
fans.
too. Exactly.
And the other fans. Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. Like, again, I love talking. Right at the game, I'm barking back and forth because it's fun. But yeah, you're never taking it to like a personal level or anything like that. And then yeah, after the game, like there's been plenty of times where I've seen some of those people back out at bars after the game, and you're just like, "Hey, how's it going, man?" Like, congrats on the win, or sorry about the beatdown you just got. Like, and it's fun. Like, it's fun hanging
So
out
would
with
you
East
talk
Coast
smack
fans.
on the field?
I was not a big talker. I was not a big talker. I'd let you run your mouth. Um, I might hit you a little harder if you've been talking all game.
Got you.
So, I mean, it's not that I wouldn't hear it, but I wasn't a big talker. I wasn't a big talker.
And just, but you say you're a talker now.
I always was as a fan. I never was on the field, and there's a reason for that. Is I didn't want to feed into your game. Like some of those people, like that's how they get amped up, right? So I didn't want to give you like weird in-game bulletin board material. Beat me how you think you can beat me, and I'm not going to talk, but you're going to feel me. In fact, you're going to know I was in this game tomorrow. So yeah, no, I was never a huge talker. That just wasn't my game. As a fan, 100%, we're chirping for sure. During the game, not so much.
Got you. Interesting. Because I'm definitely a talker. Like when I'm playing the game, I will talk it up a storm. Mostly because me doing the talking helps one energize me a little bit. Also puts the thought in your head that I'm better than what I really am. Because truth of
Sure.
the matter is that I'm not that good. So the talking actually elevates my game slightly.
Yeah.
So that day something happens, like if I'm playing basketball and I happen to just do some old weirdo shot and it goes in, I'm like, bam, I'm all over here. Like and ultimately it sometimes makes the bounces bounce my way.
Sure. No,
Sometimes it goes the exact opposite way, and I
yeah,
get my
right.
ass handed to me, and that's the end of that.
Sure.
So, but
No,
either
I mean,
way, it's fine.
that is sort of the thing. Like I always found it funny because people would be I'd have a receiver line up and they're like, you're slow and I'm going to get by you, and I'd just smile, right? Because I ran a 4.340. You weren't running by me. Like you can talk all you want, that doesn't make you faster.
Right.
So yeah, yeah, I think that's probably why I never worried about it, right? Like as a 5'10" guy, right? Like I'm not tall, right? But I ran a 4.3 and I could dunk a basketball. So I had a good vert. And so, every time someone would line up and they're like, hey, I'm going to be, talking all day. It's like, go ahead and talk. Like, it's not going to make you a better athlete. So, might make you tired. You might want to keep some of that oxygen in your body.
See, and in my case, like I said, I'll just keep on talking until I
Yep.
get till I see something that gets under your skin, and then I'll exploit it. And then I'll try
Yeah.
to exploit it more and more and more just to get you off your game a little bit. Because again,
Sure.
getting you off your game a little bit means that I'm getting on my game just a little bit. And who knows,
Yep.
maybe that one small little play. I mean, I'm not playing anything professionally anymore. So it's
No.
not
Yeah.
like most of the people I'm playing against, the level that they are better than me is one level, which is not, that means that could make them the best of a bad bunch. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
So oddly, right? Like if I'm playing like rec sports, certainly if I'm sitting there with some beers playing cornhole or something, I'm talking. Like, yeah, we're going back and forth because we're having beers and just having fun, right? So that's different. I guess it depends on what it is I'm playing.
yeah. So, and there is a professional cornhole teams out there. There's a new professional league that's gotten started up. It
Yep.
started last year, and I am actually the hype guy for the Philadelphia Bell Ringers out of Philadelphia, who went undefeated while the league was in you know around. They had to cancel the league because some of the teams weren't doing what they were supposed to do, and they'll be back again, if not this year, next year. But
Okay.
TV going on and stuff like that to not have these cornhole teams and these cornhole games.
And those
But
dudes are talented. Those dudes are
oh my
talented.
lord, oh my
Like
lord, it was
it's insane. I remember watching, before it closed up, the Johnsonville sponsored one, right? And you'd watch these guys dropping 4 bags like nonstop. And I mean, like I can randomly have a round like that, but I mean, they're just like up there, just dropping aces, and you're just like, man, like I hope if I get into one of these like rec league, tournaments, because I've jumped in on a few of those. These guys jump in on those sometimes, right? And
right.
you could be like cruising through the lineup. You're like, all right, yeah, I'm doing all right, and then you get one of those dudes that just like came in to sandbag a little bit and drops 10 aces in a row, and you're just like, cool. Well, yeah, up top, thanks for playing. The beer's over there, right? Cool.
Right. It's watching them, some of those guys play. Like there was one guy who was, and one girl who was on the team. I mean, it was supposedly a men's league, but there was one woman. She was so good. She was on there, and I thought she was probably one of the best players on the team. Besides the
Awesome.
captain of the team, she was like the second best player on the team, and she would just put it in the hole, put it in the hole, put it in the hole, put it in the hole. Like she would be getting like I guess 12s every time, like just
That's amazing.
four bag, just four bag. I'm like, damn, it's like
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
just amazing that you can.
it's so hard to offset points at that point, right? Because they're just dropping aces, and you're like, oh, I got a couple in and two on. Like this should be a good round. You're like, oh, cool. They're pointing. Damn it.
Yeah. Well, no, and then you're like, I'm going to try to block the hole some. Like you try to play defense, and then they just roll over you. It's just,
Yep.
the way that it's just
Or
so amazing.
or
You
they
just,
throw that arc and it grabs their other bag on the way in. You're like, come on.
yeah, yeah. I've seen it all. I've seen it
Oh yeah.
all, and it's or the curve shot. Oh, the one that the bag gets on there and it curves in around the bag to get in the hole. Those
So that
things
one I
are.
can do. That one I can do because of my throwing motion. So that one I can run up a board and kind of arc it in. But I can't come the other way. When you can see them like go the opposite side to get it to roll, like that's some stuff you're just like, physics seems like that shouldn't work.
Right. Right. But I mean, like I said, they do very little trash talking.
Yeah, they don't talk at all.
During the
Yeah.
game. They are very quiet. So, and it's usually me that's being the one that's being like, "Let's go, let's get," like I'm not really trash talking the other team. I'm getting my team more hyped about it. So,
Yeah, I mean that's
so
that's a professional focus thing though, right? I mean that's kind of whether it's bags or bowling or golf, they all kind of employ that same like they're very respectful and quiet against each other. Darts, like they don't really talk during those. They'll talk in between, right? Like if it's the if their teammates are about to throw, like those original two guys might say some stuff, but that's not, it's off camera mostly at that point. But yeah, no, I mean a lot of those they tend to be very quiet during the game.
yes, I agree. It's has more of a feel of golf.
Exactly.
When you're shooting back and forth. So
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that way, though. You can, if you're a fan, you should be able to yell and scream and carry on. And that's one of the things that I was promoting during this league was like, hey, cornhole does not have to be a quiet game. It does not have to be a quiet game.
I actually play better if you're talking. Like you would actually do me a disservice if you were quiet. Like I want you talking smack to me while I'm throwing bags because I 100% play better when you do.
There you go. See, and that's the way it is. You just that sometimes they said people sometimes will thrive on the smack talking. Some people, cower. You know what I mean? They can't handle it, and it gets too much for them.
Yep.
Like Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is definitely, and I love it. I could tell the story, but my buddy who was at that game tells that story so much better. He's like, Russell Westbrook looked me dead in the eye, and he's like, "Shut your friend up!" Like he was just like, get him
awesome.
to stop, just knock it the frig off, and I would not stop, and I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't doing anything wrong. It's like. And like I said, it was COVID, so you could hear me throughout the entire arena. I was getting text messages from people who knew it was me just by the sound of my voice. Were texting me, I'm like, you got to keep it going. He can't handle this. He couldn't handle it at all. It was a mess. And ever since then, I'm like, Russell, my buddy Russell's here. You see him going like this, get out, get away from me. And I don't even want to hear your voice.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, he definitely can't handle it though. Like it seems like anybody talking kind of gets under his skin a bit. Whether it's a fan or really even people on the court. Like he doesn't take people chirping at him very well, which makes you want to do it more.
Exactly. So, well, let's get going to some of the news that happened over the last day or so. Obviously, we heard just about the end of the show that McCarthy was going to be back. I did hear today as I came in this morning that I'm actually, and what you see behind me, I am at the production studio that got the Philly Sports Guy started. So shout out to King Creative for allowing me to use their production studio today. So I'm in a sound room, which is why you see all the funny stuff.
No, I like that behind you. That diffuser is awesome because usually they're very boring, and that one's pretty cool looking.
We made that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually took part in making that, where we were cutting little pieces of 2x2s and put it all together. So it took a little bit of time, but it is kind of cool in here to do that. And I was like, let me come in here and do this as I'm trying to get some of the other commercials that I need to get done this time around. So, but so yeah, shout out to them. But we heard that McCarthy will be coming back next season. And that I heard that the Falcons are doing a second interview on Belichick. I heard about that on the way in.
Okay.
So it's a second interview about that, which I thought was kind of very interesting.
That is.
Rivera would like to keep coaching, even if it's as a coordinator.
Okay.
Interesting. So I thought that was, I'm like, okay, it's if that's what you want to do, if you would like to take the demotion to coordinator, I can appreciate that. Some people just don't want to leave football.
I totally get that.
Again, coaches, I got to imagine he probably does not have the television type persona to be able to get in front of a camera.
Yeah, that second career. Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
So I kind of understand where it's like, hey, if you want to still be in football, you got to be a coach, and it's like, hey, I'll be a defensive coordinator. Obviously my defenses weren't that bad.
No, I mean, he had good defenses. So, I mean, yeah.
So, but interesting that he doesn't care about that he would be, will take a coordinator's position. The Bears Johnson wants to be the NFL's highest paid cornerback. I can imagine that the Bears are not really interested in hearing about their cornerback position right now when they are trying to figure out their quarterback position right now. So I'm sure
literally every other position group.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that he's trying to figure that out a little bit to see whether that can really be something or not. Big news for the Super Bowl. Reba McEntire and Post Malone are going to headline the pregame lineup. So Reba McEntire, who's probably every bit of now, probably what?
But she's 70.
65? Yeah, 65, 70 years old.
Yeah.
I don't think she's that. I don't think she's 70 yet.
Okay.
Because
Still
I remember,
65, yeah.
I remember throwing her 40th birthday party. Here's another story that I'll tell you. I used to work at the Spectrum, and I set up the backstage dressing rooms. So I had to blow up a whole bunch of balloons and go get a cake with the candles that say 40 on it and stuff like that. She was in concert at the Spectrum that night. So for her 40th birthday, which was kind of cool that I got to be a part of that and set it all up and what have you. So, and I want to say that was every bit of like 20 some years ago. So she's definitely older now, but I don't think she's quite at 70 yet. So
still interesting lineup.
Yeah.
And then
Post Malone, he's the one with all the tattoos on his face.
Yeah.
Not the one who's the country singer who's
no, not Jelly Roll. He was the first. He's got tats everywhere. That's interesting. Then of course, what the halftime show is Usher, right?
I do remember hearing that. So
yeah,
it could be. Hey, there you go, Usher. Not that I'm a fan of Usher either. He's the guy from Canada, right?
Is he from Canada?
That tells me. I don't know. Yeah. There we go. All right. So somebody else could mention that. Anybody who's a big Usher. Yup. He is from Canada.
Like I like Usher. I had no idea where he was from.
No, he's not. Oh, I got a yup and then a no. Yup. No. No. So 2 no's and a yup. So the no's take it.
I like it.
So, Cousins plans to be back for the OTAs in the spring after tearing his Achilles. So maybe maybe he's progressing similar to Aaron
Rogers. Yeah,
Rodgers.
yeah, could
You
be.
know,
I mean, he made all the money, so I mean, he can pay for whatever whatever special treatment Rogers had,
got you. Well,
commenting on other things.
yeah, I understand. I understand. So, but oh, there we go. Eagles players show support for Sirianni amid job security speculation. You know, I'm going to talk about this for a second, just because obviously your coach is, it was either asked or he asked to remain with the organization but not coach anymore,
Yeah,
or they asked him to not coach anymore.
yeah,
In this case here, I kind of feel like, you know, do you, I know there's a lot of talk about the fans saying that Nick Sirianni should go. We are not the Carolina Panthers. We are
yeah.
not that franchise who needs to go through. We're not the Raiders who needs to go through coach after coach after coach after coach to, and look like a laughing stock. What you
Yeah.
have when you have your
Hey.
coach, hey, what's up? When you have a coach that brings you to the playoffs 3 years in a row,
Mhm.
is 1 year removed from taking you to the Super Bowl, has his whole coaching staff overhauled because his
Yep.
coaches, his coordinators wind up with coaching positions in other places. And you now have to take ultimately kind of the same group and bring them back there again
Mhm.
without them getting any older, without them doing anything. And you bring us back to the playoffs. Now, I understand that the collapse was too monumental to not take into consideration with this. But that puts him on the hot seat, I think. I think that
Yeah.
that's what that should do. I don't believe it should be a removal. I believe he's now on the hot seat. Now, does that mean that if we go 0-6 going into next season, then yes, he's got to go quick. And then you
Yeah,
got to
that
fire
could be a
fast.
mid-season firing. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, I can
but
see that.
I don't see that occurring. I just don't see that occurring.
So we must be talking Sirianni.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my question with that is, and Pags, I know you can't obviously put out details and things like that, but based on a conversation we had a while back with you, and we were talking about the fractured locker room after the game and things like that, and yeah, you get rid of some of these other coaches and things like that. You give Sirianni another year, but there's still obviously issues within that locker room. I mean, Sirianni, they got to have obviously they're going to have some serious discussions, right? I mean.
Absolutely. So he meets with Jeffrey Lurie, I believe, sometime this weekend because Jeffrey Lurie was out of the country. And right now there he is slated to put together a plan to show how they are going to improve next year. Jeffrey Lurie likes the plan, Nick will stay. Jeffrey Lurie does not like the plan, Nick will go. That's exactly what he did with Peterson. Peterson said, "Hey, I want to run it back with the guys that we had at this time. That the second year around, everybody will get it." And Jeffrey Lurie was like, "No, I'm not buying that." It's like we are not insane. We are not going to be the ones that don't change anything and think we're going to come up with a different result. Keep everything the same and try to come up with something different. That's not going to occur. That being said, Nick Sirianni is going to have the same opportunity. It's like, listen, these are the things that I feel like need to change. The owner's going to say, you know what? Let's go to town. Let's make it happen. Or he's going to say, you know what? I'm sorry, Nick. I'm not on board with this. And I appreciate everything that you've done up to this point, but I think that it's time for me to look into another direction. So I could see it both sides of the ownership. It'd be interesting to be the fly on the wall to hear how that conversation goes. But ultimately, I don't think that he's going to get fired. He's on the hot seat. He is definitely, and it's got a fire underneath of it a little bit. So it's either he's going to have that fire under his butt to get everything moving in the right direction, or it's going to burn him.
I just wonder if that situation that you were speaking of, if a lot of players wind up leaving, how is that going to affect his ability to run it back? I mean, we already know Jason Kelsey, which is their big staple on the push, right? Formation is out the door.
No,
So,
he's not. No,
So
he's not.
he's
That's
so
not
he's,
official.
so he's not official yet.
okay.
Yeah.
It's not official.
So, but okay, so
He may be.
Yeah.
I would say that it's probably 75%.
Well, I thought he
However,
had a meeting where he was announcing his retirement in the locker room.
No, he said on his own podcast that that was leaked prematurely, and he hasn't made an official decision because of how emotional that game was. He didn't feel equipped to make the decision then. So so it hasn't been officially announced yet. It sure looks like he probably will, but he hasn't officially announced it. So I mean, there is the chance he comes back.
I hope he comes back. Honestly, I hope Jason Kelsey comes back because I still think he's got a lot left in that tank to offer you guys on the offensive line to keep it stable and to allow you to run it back, right? Because that offensive line is paramount for you guys to be able to run it back.
Absolutely.
And the continuity of keeping that together is huge. But I wonder if, like you were hinting at earlier, if some people start leaving, if that's going to hurt, number one, the ability for them to run it back. And if they can't run it back or don't have the ability to run it back because of player loss, then isn't it kind of almost Sirianni's nail in the coffin?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Now, listen, you got to say that there's got to be something there where the coach actually is in charge of the players. Obviously, the coach is supposed to put the players in the right place to succeed. If they're not succeeding, ultimately the coach is going to be the one to blame. And that's how we felt about the defense all year long, that the defensive coordinator was not doing their job properly. And because of that, this team was not in the right spots. And ultimately, we lost games. You have a Tampa Bay Buccaneers who had only scored 9 points against the Carolina Panthers come out of nowhere and score 31 points. So that's part of what's going on. That's part of what happens. And is if he comes out of the gates and they are stinking up the joint, well, then it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal. If they come out guns a-blazing and they come out to a 3-0 or 4-0 start, well, maybe they turned it around. Maybe they were able to do this. Maybe they just got tired, from last year playing all those games, doing all the different things that they did. Everybody is out to get them this year because they were in the Super Bowl. And so teams were playing them much harder and they got tired. The age started to show.
Yeah.
It'll be like that next year.
Yeah. It doesn't explain the apparent indifference that they look like they had on the sideline though. Because you can be tired and still want to play. Like they didn't look like they wanted to play. So that seems like it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But I agree. They could be exhausted, but at the same time, you can be exhausted and still be like trying to play. Like you may be slower, it may be sluggish, but it shouldn't show up as, I just don't care.
Well, yeah, it definitely looked like on the offense, like you said, especially with Goddard and the issue between Goddard and what's his name? God, the quarterback. Thank you. My brain was about between him and Hurts. It just seemed like there was a lot of things like that where they weren't on the same page. And there was just a lot of issues I think that went on in that game. That just was not the Eagles team that we saw at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Which I think, again, what Pags was saying on previous conversations, if all that upholds as being true, I mean, that could really destroy a team inside and out, man. People got things on their brain. They're not completely 100% focused on any damn thing, much less that game, because in their mind, once you start getting all that stuff going on the brain, it really it's like a cancer. It just affects everything.
Yeah.
I agreed. And there is something that was occurring, that needs to get resolved. And whether it gets resolved via the player or players that were involved in this get removed from the situation. I mean, I thought about this, I as I thought about it, I thought about another type of situation because there was a couple of players who just did not play the way that we know that they can, and they didn't live up to their potential. And then it made me start to think, could they be the other half of this? Specifically, one person specifically that kind of comes to my mind. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, that's really now that makes sense on two fronts. Fills another hole that I didn't think about. And you have, contention a little bit between the offense and the defense. You have his, Jalen Hurts' best friend hurt and not playing, in this game. So, and he's like the biggest relief valve. Dallas Goedert used to be that guy, but now he's not. You know what I mean? For whatever reason that is. Dallas Goedert went to being from an all-pro tight end, one of the best in the league, to not being very underutilized this year. Very underutilized. And what created that? What caused him to not look his way? It's very interesting to me. And it's there was some regression from Jalen Hurts. Does that mean that I think that he's always going to be regressing? No, I feel like he could get back to where he needs to be. But ultimately, at the moment, it's it's a tough pill to swallow all the way around. This team did not underperformed after overperforming in the beginning of the season.
Right.
And to have that, maybe that's what it was. They overperformed so much to be able to pull it all those games out that the tank was empty.
I don't know. I don't believe that. No offense, Pat, but I don't.
in a
I
row.
think it goes more with what that incident, because come on, man. The way they were playing at the beginning of the season, you don't just have, these are experienced guys. These are veterans. No, that's just too hard that pill is just too hard to swallow. The one you gave a minute ago, because the way it happened at that very last month is in my opinion, much more plausible about why they went the way they went. Because you don't just have that kind of drop off. You just don't.
So
Yeah.
The Jets.
Listen to Houston Oilers now. I remember there was a game where Warren Moon was going up against the Buffalo Bills, and they had him like 32 points. They had 9 Pro Bowlers on defense and came out the second half and just throw a big goose egg. That was the only other time that I would say I've seen something like that.
So when the Jets did it, I think it was whenever it was, maybe
Right.
1986, 1987. What was the reason for them?
That's
Nobody
a good question.
remember. I mean, obviously,
The
I don't
Jets.
know because I wasn't a Jets fan. They were the Jets, but they started out. That was the first team that went out 10-1 and didn't win but 11 games that season.
Right.
So something had to occur. Again, I don't know what occurred for that team. I only can hypothesize what occurred for this team. Like I said,
Yep.
if the rumor is true, then
Sure.
that gives good explanation. If the rumor is not true, then that means there's something else that happened, and I don't know what that is either.
Yeah.
So, and everybody
I
likes to talk.
expect a very good, suspenseful offseason.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think this offseason is going to be extremely news-filled. Not just with the Eagles, but with all the coaching carousels going on. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things.
There's going to be a lot of storylines. There's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of storylines because there's going to be, quarterbacks moving. You have the disaster in Denver that's going on. I mean, there's going to be a lot to talk about in this offseason. In fact, we're going to see a pretty active free agency period, I would think.
Tell you what you're not going to see, changing of the guard in Dallas.
That's
Nope.
exactly it. As I'm
That's
reading
right.
No.
all
Same
about
old, same old.
McCarthy, as I'm reading all about McCarthy, at the end of this, it says Dallas is also expected to retain defensive coordinator Dan Quinn if he's not hired as the head coach in the offseason.
That's the caveat to it because every team has reached out to him that's looking for a head coaching job. So, I mean, there's plenty of interest. So if everything falls apart, he goes back to Dallas. I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
I'll tell you, if Dan Quinn stays or Dan Quinn goes, it's not going to make a damn bit of damn difference. I mean, seriously, no, it won't. I'm just saying it. Whether he's there or not there, I mean, it's just gonna be the same. It's like that damn meme I showed you. I was just crying. I was like, well, I don't know what to do with myself.
So
Let's
here's
see,
the
12,
quote.
12 and 5 and
Here's the-
bounced early. Let's run it back. I like it.
Here's a quote from McCarthy. I want to know what you think about this, Jay. We have established a championship program. It's just not a world championship yet.
I can't even say the F word, but what the hell does that mean?
It means
that
you're
came right from McCarthy himself. We have established a championship program. It's just not a world championship yet. I know how to win. We have to get over that threshold. I have total confidence, and that's why I am standing here today.
So he's not entirely wrong. You do have a division championship.
Come on. Come on. And then one of them get made fun of so damn much by Stephen A. I mean, seriously. I mean, he's not okay. He's not wrong. Yeah, you're right. We got a division championship. Okay, well, we've had that several times, but nobody gives a damn about division championships.
No. I mean, it's a championship, right?
I don't care about division. I get that.
You're the best.
Saying, I don't care about that.
You're the best of 4 teams. Good job.
Exactly.
Shit, you're over there with 0. I don't want to hear nothing from you.
I was waiting for that. I was like, man, how many
it's one thing if a San Francisco 49ers said it to me or maybe even a Baltimore Ravens. But when I got a bottom feeder with seat kicking saying it, come on.
I was wondering how many needles jam in before it got there.
A more recent Super Bowl than I do, so.
Yeah, in fact, we've been in 3 since you have.
Yeah, well, what can I say, man? I mean, I watched. You know what? I remember I was watching Pags, and I don't know what those other 2 guys' name, but they're all the super fans, and they had the show the other day, and the Cowboys guy was saying, "It's like you're a fan. What are we supposed to do? I can't control the team. All I can do is live with what they give us, and that's what we've been doing for decades."
True.
Is living what they give and control what I'm gonna still buy a hat. I'll still go to like he said. I'll do all that. But I can't make them change. I can't make Jerry Jones do the right things. I mean, it is what it is, unfortunately.
Well, and I mean, let's be honest. Say they did move on from McCarthy and Dan Quinn. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, what, you're going to go potentially get Belichick for a couple of years, maybe get Vrabel, right? Like it's not like the pool is full of, huge upgrades, right?
And that's another thing, too. That brings up a good point, Bo. I see where you're going with that. So do you think, and I can see this as being plausible, do you think that Jerry Jones said, you know what, there's really no yes men available out there on the market, so I might as well just stick with what I got? I mean, because that would certainly make sense that Jerry would think that way.
Like, I don't see him going after some up-and-comer to try it out, right? Like, he wants a veteran guy in there because he's 80 years old and wants to win. So, I mean, could one of these new and up-and-comers do it? Sure, it's possible, but you don't know. Could be a complete bust. You have no idea, right? So, he would have been going after a veteran, and...
Well, he did go with the quote. Now, I'm not saying this, but I mean, he quote unquote up on Jason Garrett. I mean, Jason Garrett came up through the ranks. The Dallas was his first head coaching job.
No, for sure. But he was 14, 15 years younger when he did that appointment.
No, I understand that. But I also think that Jerry took him on more so because him being a yes guy or whatever, or part of the Cowboys system that he was in. So Jerry felt who he knew versus, like, let's say if he went for a Tomlin or Dan Campbell or like you said, a Belichick, who would just be another Jimmy Johnson for him. Honestly, I think at the end of the day, and I don't think he was willing to go that route. I think it's kind of like the devil you know for him is better than the devil he doesn't know or has seen before in Jimmy. And
that's the thing is I that's why I think he'd be leaning towards a veteran coach. Cause again, he's going to try and get somebody that can win today. He doesn't want to have to try and develop as a coach. So again, with the things that are on the market, the only
one that's really on the market that has won a championship as a coach is Belichick. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, nobody else
could probably make
rings.
they could probably make a play for Pete, right? They'd have to trade something for him, but they could probably make a play for him.
Yeah, I mean, and from what I understand, he does want to coach. So,
For sure.
he's not done. He's not done coaching. So that made me believe that he was asked to leave, not.
Oh, 100%. Based on the press conferences that came out after the fact, right? He was definitely asked to step down, or being told he was being removed from that position.
Yeah, Mac or Linda, I hear you. I hear what you're saying there. But the truth of the matter is that coach is the anomaly.
Sure.
The anomaly. You have Gannon over there in Arizona, who you see what he did. Nothing.
Staley.
Yeah, you
right?
have Steichen. You have Steichen, who went to the Colts and really was one game away from being in the playoffs. Would you have said the same about Steichen had he beat Houston to get to that? Knock Houston out of the playoffs and get in. It's possible. My thought is on that is that Jerry Jones goes a little bit older school.
Yep.
He wants a winner. When he hired Jimmy Johnson, he had just won the national championship with Miami and was perennially a national champion contender.
Exactly.
So he brought him in there and says, okay, we're going to give you your shot at the NFL. And he ultimately went that route. So
I still love the meme that has Jerry Jones in a Cowboys uniform, and I'm like, it might as well be. Every time I see him, I'm like, because he wants every bit of control. I mean, damn near down to the actual being the quarterback. He wants all of it.
Oh man, if he could play, he would. He'd tap his own number to get in there.
I would not doubt that. I would not doubt that. Probably give himself a really big salary too.
Absolutely.
Hey, the salary cap is going to be stretched as much as I can. We're going to go down to the last 2 pennies. So, but I mean, ultimately, I don't think that he's. Yeah, I agree. I feel like that he saw the pool that's out there and says that I'm gonna have to run this back some and just be more involved.
Yeah,
which is how I feel like that's a great way of being able to make sure that you're going to go to your 30th year without going to an NFC Championship game. So, my expectation is that he may not see another championship in his lifetime.
I don't not at the rate that he's going, or not with the philosophy that he's going with. That I got to have all this control. I mean, no, I don't think he does. No.
So, on that note, we are at the top of the hour. Let's take our station identification break, and we will be back for the second hour of Coast to Coast. See you in a second. I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this.
Oh, I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
supporting the needs of our veterans. That's the goal of all of us at Team AmVets. Like Mitch, Carlos, and Kevin from our Welcome Home team that brings furniture to our vets.
We are Team AmVets.
Or Linda from our thrift stores who brings you great bargains every day.
I am Team AmVets.
And John, who picks up your thrift store donations that support California veterans programs.
I am Team AmVets.
Visit our website or a Team AmVets thrift store to donate or shop today.
Join the team!
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And we are back with our second hour of Coast to Coast. Again, I am Pags, Bo in the middle, McLovin on the other side. And here we are talking. We were talking coaches, how Dallas's coach is going to remain, how Nick Sirianni right now has got it's on a 50-50 scale there. He may go, who knows. That Belichick has got his second interview going on right now with the Falcons as we speak. And we may hear something from them fairly quickly saying that they either signed Belichick or just like, hey, because obviously I think they got to interview somebody else. I don't know how difficult that type of stuff is. Well,
it's going to bring in a minority, right? Per the Rooney Rule. I mean, that's still something they got to do, or have they already done?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they have to physically bring him in. I think it can be a Zoom call or something like that. So who knows if they have?
Yeah, let's see. Just as I read this, I know that they brought talked to Belichick. I know that they brought in or they spoke to what's his face before. They talked to the offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and defensive coordinator Mike McDonald from the Ravens and offensive coordinator Brian Callahan.
Okay.
So they've spoken to them a little bit already, whether it's but it's interesting. I know that they did talk to Harbaugh. He's not on that list. So I guess they did not like what Harbaugh had to say. He probably said, yeah, give me like $20 million a year and I'll be okay.
Yeah, I bet he did.
I mean, without a doubt. Yeah.
And that's why they're like, no, we're not going to pay you.
But I wonder what Bill's asking.
Bill, it's interesting. Having Bill Belichick in the NFC is going to be hysterical, but I understand why the Atlanta Falcons would be a job that he'd be interested in. Mostly because he's in a weak division.
Yep.
And he could, for 5 years. How old was Mark Levy? How old did he coach till?
God, Mark went forever. He was in his 70s, I think, when he stepped down from Buffalo.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't know the exact age, but I know he was at least in his 70s.
And then Schottenheimer, also somebody who coached forever, it seemed.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't win a playoff game. Great, a regular season coach, couldn't win a playoff game. So the Brian Johnson that you guys think
72.
Yeah, the Falcons aren't talking about the same Brian Johnson that we have. They may have the same name, but it's Ben Johnson, not Brian Johnson. It's Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
He's the offensive coordinator of the Lions, not Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson was supposed to get an interview for the Carolina Panthers, who it would make sense for that because Brian Johnson is not one of those names that's well known in football. Unless you're in football. So that being said, him going and having a conversation with the Panthers makes sense to me because I feel like you need a less than high end name to be able to go to that franchise. Somebody who wants to give it a shot at head coach position. Yeah, who's not necessarily willing to who's willing to take the job because of the job, and it's one of the 32 in the NFL, not because of the team itself.
Right.
Because
if I was a head coach, I mean, especially as a young coach, that might be one of the few teams I wouldn't want to go to because, like you said earlier, I think we said earlier, if you don't do well, then it's not like your reputation of your name can carry you beyond that. I mean, you can very be known as that.
But if you take that team and you go to 7-9 next year, or 7-10,
right?
All of a sudden that's actually not so bad. Now, then now you got a draft pick that you can actually play with. So ultimately there is you can only go up from a franchise like that, even though it's such a mess. It is such a mess.
Yeah, I mean, it's the dysfunction that you have to overcome that I think is going to be the hardest part about that job. Because it's not like you're taking over a team that's in a bad situation. You also have to take over a team that the owner's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but the owner, from what I understand, is willing to take the step back now.
Okay.
At least that's how it was implied. He's like, okay, we're going to get real football people in here who can do real football stuff, and with that, we are going to wind up making ourselves a better team. It's like I'm not going to take on the responsibility because of my ego. Because that's really what this came. That's why he threw the water on the Jaguars fan. That's why he was so pissed off. Is that he's got an ego too? Just like all these owners do. All of these owners egos.
God, I wish Jerry could take a page out of that book and learn to put his ego aside and let football people come in and make football decisions. I mean, we'd be a hell of a lot better off.
The hardest part about that is that he believes he's a football person.
Yeah, well, that's true. He does believe he's a football person.
So it's and you could say when he first got it together, this is almost like from what I understand, like if you are a drug addict, you're always chasing that first high. It's very similar. I feel like that he is always chasing that first high of Jimmy Johnson. Like I chose right that time, and I can choose right again because I know I can, because I know it. I feel it.
Yeah. No, I mean, makes sense.
A squirrel finds a nut every once in a blue moon. He found the nut. The problem is that was his one nut.
Yeah, I mean, it's like doubling down.
Honestly, it's like
it's doubling down on a bad pick, right? Where you're just like, oh, I made this pick, it didn't pan out. Let me go ahead and double down on it. It's like, no, it was a bad pick originally. Don't double down on another bad pick.
Right. Jesus.
I mean, everybody thought Barry Schweitzer was a great choice at coach after Jimmy Johnson got let go.
I mean, he wasn't a bad coach, but he did inherit a great team. I mean,
yes,
right.
I mean, I don't want to say he was a bad coach. I don't want to say he was a bad coach, but because even with the great team, he can still screw up. Yeah. I mean, it happens, but. Again, I mean, even after Switzer, we have had nothing. We have had nothing at the quarterback world. We've had nothing at the head coaching world. We've had all these, I don't know, afterthoughts, whatever you want to call them, less than's. I mean, Quincy Carter was the biggest, it's just horrible. It's just, good God, it's horrible.
I mean, you've had good defenses and good position players, though. Like, there's been talent on the team.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, talent has come and gone off this team, left and right. DeMarcus Ware, I mean, Gregory was a great talent when he wasn't all jacked up on drugs or whatever. I mean, he was. I mean, it's just drugs got him, like a lot of other players, unfortunately.
Yep.
So, changing off a little bit of football, we should talk about this for a second because this was a big deal in the NBA yesterday. Pascal Siakam was traded to the Indiana Pacers. Now I know that we're switching from football to basketball, and we don't, that's it. But as I was reading the news, this was something that definitely was in the news, so we have to kind of talk about it a little bit. Obviously, they got in return Bruce Brown, Kira Lewis, and Jordan Nwora, and 3 first-round picks.
Those first-round picks are nice.
Right?
They're the players I think were just cap moves, but those picks, that's where I think that the most value is obviously, right? So
yeah, so the
Pacers for Toronto.
Their Pacers are sending their own 2024 and 2026 first-round picks to Toronto, along with the worst 2024 pick from the Rockets, Thunder, Jazz, or Clippers. So I didn't realize Indiana had like 18 first-round picks in 2024. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like they got 5 first-round picks.
That's
in
crazy.
2024. So they're sending their own and the worst one of the Rockets, Thunder, Jazz, or Clippers. Wow. That's interesting.
That's a lot of chances to hit gold.
That's quite the collection of first-round picks.
It is. And they also acquired, all right, so they acquired Lewis Jr. and a 2024 second-round pick from New Orleans for cash considerations earlier in the day. They got him and swapped him right on out. And then they waived center Christian Coloco to complete the deal because they got more people than they're supposed to have on their roster. So Siakam averaging 22 points a game, 6.3 rebounds, and 29-year-old is going to join Tyrese Halliburton and see if they can do something with the Pacers to try to get them up in the mix.
Well, for a team that's sitting 7th in the East,
right,
and you're getting that many draft picks to complement. I mean, you only get hit if you hit gold, once or twice out of that 5. I mean, that could potentially change that team up quite well, especially when you got Buddy Hield. I mean, they have a pretty decent team over there, honestly.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if they are able to bring it up a little bit higher. Obviously, I don't think that that's enough to get them into the upper echelon. I still feel like
is he a center or a forward? I always forget with him. I think he's a center, correct?
Siakam?
Or he might be a forward.
Yeah, I think
Siakam was a forward. He's a power forward. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, it could be enough for them. I still don't think so. I still don't think that gets them into the top 3. And the top 3 are still the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Sixers. So ultimately, that's I feel like that they have got enough now to be the number 4, maybe the number 5.
Yeah.
The Knicks did some work too. So it'll be interesting to see how the end of the season starts off. I usually start getting involved in basketball the moment that football is over. Well, right now football is over for me, so I can start to get into basketball.
There is that.
I wasn't trying to be funny there.
Oh, no, it came out as funny.
Do I have to make my face?
Right, so I'm right there with you. So.
That's right. That's right.
The face that 50 million people have seen.
Yep.
And don't worry, merch is coming. Merch is coming. I tell you, we talked about this yesterday, and I'm like, if they're going to use my face, I'm going to superimpose a tear coming down.
Exactly.
And start selling it to all the other fan bases. I love it when Philly teams lose with my face on their shirt.
Yep.
I
think that's a great sell. I know Jay was ready to buy one right now. He's like, here's my money.
Hey, what are you talking about, man? Hey, listen, I got a whole waterfall coming. You're lucky you just got a tear.
Yeah. Well, especially since your whole coaching regime is coming back. I'm interested. I'm interested if the Eagles will talk to Rivera, since he's interested in maybe doing a coordinator's position,
Would you really want that though? I don't
or
know.
just a defensive coordinator.
No, I
No,
understand that. I just
he's got to be better than Patricia, though.
I just I look at Rivera as stale bread. I just think he's stale. I don't think he's going to be that guy.
Well,
I mean, their
like,
defense was still okay.
I like
I
having.
it's okay, but if that's really what you want on your team is just okay. I mean, go ahead and have Ron Rivera, I guess.
It was okay with no talent.
That's not true. That's not true. They had 4 first-round picks on the defensive line.
Well, they had, yeah, and then they traded some studs away.
Right. And the one stud was the sack leader for both teams this year.
Exactly.
That's
what I mean is they still ended up winning some games after those guys left. So I mean,
no, they didn't.
I thought they still won a game or two.
No.
Did they lose out?
They lost out.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I thought they still ended up winning a game or two.
Let's put your timeout, Bo. Maybe we need to go. Hey, in the words of Baker Mayfield, maybe you should watch a little bit more film.
There wasn't really good film to watch for Washington, let's be honest.
Don't make me call Baker on you, okay? Because I'll definitely do it. Honestly, with Ron Rivera, does that even remotely excite you as a coordinator for your team? It wouldn't. Not for me. It doesn't. It's just more than same old bullshit. Give me somebody who's innovative. Give me a young mind. I want the young minds, of the game. Go give me, like a who's the defensive coordinator over there for Buffalo? Because Buffalo's got not Buffalo. Excuse me. Baltimore.
Oh yeah, they really did get beat up at the end, didn't they? Yeah, I guess I just stopped watching.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Baltimore has go get me. Even San Francisco's playing good. I mean, go get me one of those coordinators.
Yeah, I don't know that I trust defensive coordinator from San Francisco this year. D'Amico Ryans, absolutely. I trust him, and you can see what happened. This year, I think that they inherited D'Amico Ryans' defense, and they were able to do it. That the offense has been better this year than it was last year. So I kind of feel that that's how they won certain amount of games. Now, the defense did come to play. They didn't let up a lot of points and stuff like that, but the offense put them into that position.
Right.
So,
but I think we all know that the game is changing. The game is changing every year. It just keeps changing and changing. And you need a defensive coordinator that's young enough that's changing with the game, and not these guys from yesteryear that is still stuck, back then. I just want that young guy. I want that innovative guy. The guy that's going to change a little bit of that culture a little bit. Or at least, that can relate to the players and stuff in their culture.
Sure.
So, are you talking like doing Georgia's defensive coordinator?
That's not a bad idea. Wait, bullshit.
Yeah, like having him upgrade to the pro. That's where, like, if what you're talking about is kind of that's how you would have to look at that. You'd have to start looking at colleges that had good defenses.
Right.
Like Alabama had a pretty good defense, so you could go that. And right now, that staff is probably prime for the picking, since Washington's coach is now that. Or you could try Washington's defensive coordinator, but their defense wasn't so great.
Oh no, Washington's defense was horrible. I'd go talk to Sarkisian's defensive coordinator before I talk to Washington's.
So other teams that I could think about that actually had really good defense. Was it Utah? Was it Utah that was actually up there?
Utah had a good defense.
They had a great
defense.
You know what
I'm talking about? I'm talking
about Michigan. Their offense stunk.
Yeah.
It was their defense that had them in the top 10 for a little while.
Exactly.
But even look Look at Michigan's defense and how well they handled Penix, though. I thought Michigan's defense I thought was really good, or their coordinator was really good. They contained Penix. They didn't let him do a damn thing. They put him in uncomfortable situations. They did what everybody else should have done was pressure him to beat him.
Michigan probably had one of the best defenses in college football. Hands down.
So how much of that do you feel that, all right, and since only because it was out there, how much of that at the beginning of the season do you feel like that was because they were cheating?
Here's the thing. So sign stealing, if you are trying to hit a home run, right, and you know what the pitch is coming, is very different than you know what the alignment is of a play. You still got 11 dudes that have to go stop the thing. So it's not quite that impactful. I mean, if you have intelligent defensive players, you can kind of see based on alignment what it is they're starting to run anyway. Certainly if you watch tape. So I don't feel like it helps as much as the media made it sound like. Again, there's just too many players. There's too many variations from any given play that you can run. I don't know. I don't feel like it was as big of a deal as the media made it sound. I think it was just kind of a low news year for college football.
Right.
And so they needed something to spin up constantly because, let's be honest, there wasn't a whole lot of headlines through college sports outside of that. So
let's be honest, though. Look, damn good and well it didn't affect them because, look, even after they were caught with sign stealing, Harbaugh gets ejected. They still don't lose a damn game. They go all the way, come back into the playoffs, dominate the playoffs. Not one single time that any of the controversies was typically those kinds of controversies and losing your head coach would typically derail a team. And this team never got derailed. And it's because of the assistant coaches that kept those kids poised, that kept them on the right track, kept them focused, and had them prepared for each game. If anything, that makes that defensive and offensive coordinators even look exponentially better because even through all of what they went through, they never lost focus or were ever unprepared.
Yeah.
So that being said, is that who you'd go pull from?
You could. I mean, one thing about that team is it is, littered with NFL talent, right? So were some of those wins just because they were that much better personnel-wise than the other teams? Maybe. So, it's a judgment call. But that being said, if you're trying to get a new innovative guy, pulling from a team that just won a national championship isn't a bad way to go.
And one that can deal with controversies. That's the biggest thing. Because as you know, in the NFL, I mean, especially like the Eagles and what they've gone through in that locker room, controversies all over the damn place.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can keep your team focused, if you can keep them on the game plan, if you can keep them in sync with each other and not listening to the outside world, the outside things, those are intangibles. Those are X factors that I would want in my coaching staff.
Yep.
Because God knows, man, there's controversies left and right in professional sports. Ain't that right, Pag? Hey, look, man, I'm Cowboys. I got McCarthy. Give me one, okay? I'm not asking.
Right. No, exactly.
Just give me one.
Yeah, all right. You got your one. That's that one. So
see, that's all I ask for. That's why I like Pags. He gives me my one.
Okay, one more thing that I want to bring up here, we can spend a few minutes on because we keep going back to football, and I know we'll end with football here.
Can I say one thing before you go in for this? Because we kind of left the basketball thing, and there was one thing I wanted to say about the Pacers real quick, if I may, just real quick, is I like the fact that, if you look at Hollybird, who's got 23, 17, the shooting guard has 17, I think it was Buddy Hield, and then if you throw in a guy like Siakam at that small forward who's throwing in around 22, if that team can cohesively share the ball and play and not let it destroy their rhythm, things like that, I'm telling you, Pags, I think they can make a run for that third spot. They have a lot of good players on that team that can score, and a lot of good players that can rebound and steal the ball, which is what some of the other stats I was looking at with Miles Turner and rebounding. And I think they have the potential to actually elevate up. So I look at that Siakam. And the more that I look at Obi Toppin, who still I don't think has reached his full potential off the bench. I mean, they got some players over there.
Talent-wise, sure. I mean, it'll come down to chemistry, right? Like if they can gel right away,
exactly.
Sure, you could make a case for it. It's just going to be how fast can they gel. But yeah, I mean, they're going to have some talent. They could definitely, make a play for it. But I mean, they have to almost step into being in rhythm. And
I think this could very well be where the Pacers are saying, okay, look, we're going to go as far as we can with what we have and what we've added. But I think they're with those 5 draft picks and what now they have with Siakam, Hield, and Halliburton and Miles Turner. They may just be 1 or 2 pieces away, or even a 6-man away that they could find in that first round. And I think next year they could come back with a full season or a full off season together. I mean, that could be really dangerous come next year.
Sure. Well, and that's next year, not this year.
Oh, no, I understand.
So, and I feel like this year, it's not going to be enough. I don't believe it's going to be enough.
Oh, it won't be enough.
That doesn't mean that they can't go out and get more. Listen, they still do have 3 first-round picks after trading 2 of them away.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they still got it. They still got it all in place to be able to go out and play this game. So. But I was going to stay with basketball here, and we here would like to wish the family of Dejan Milovic, the best, our sincerest condolences. He passed away at the age of 46 with a massive heart attack. Way too young. Way too young. They canceled or they postponed that Clippers game or the Warriors game. I'm sorry to. So to allow the organization to grieve their loss here, it was one of those things. It's a surprise, being as old as I am, and really now that I found out that I'm a little younger than Jay because he's the old man of the group. That it's like when I hear that somebody younger than me has passed from a heart attack and everything, it makes me. Understand that there is not much time above the grass, and that
absolutely
you need to live your life the way that you want to. And as my mother would say, I'm going to go until the battery's dead.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just I'm not going to turn the on and off button and try to extend my life and stuff like that. I want to go until the battery's dead, and then that's how I want to go on my own terms and my own rules. It's they said a massive heart attack is definitely not a fun way to go. You know what I mean? And I can imagine that at 46 years old, it wasn't something very, very, very unexpected. And I just my sincerest condolences from myself, along with, my crew here at Coast to Coast. Want to wish that family all the best as we grieve with you over the loss of the assistant coach.
Yeah, it still blows my mind. Growing up as a kid, I never really thought heart attacks, came that early. My wife. Before I met her, she had a heart attack at 35, and she's a healthy girl. She works out. She watches what she eats, and I'm sure that he was watching what he was an athlete for crying out loud. So it's not like he wasn't exercising and doing all the proper things. It just blows my mind that heart attacks can still happen at such a young age at 46, 35. I mean, you're right, Pags. You just never know how much time you have above the grass, literally. And our hearts do go out to him and his family, and we'll be with you. And I know it's not an easy situation to grow through, but with the Lord's help, we will all get through this.
So exactly. So it's been like I said, I can imagine it's a tremendous challenge right now that the Warriors organization faces, and like I said, you never know when it's your calling, you're getting called, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. So. Hopefully, they can find solace and rejoice his life in the proper ways with the family and such. So, again, like I said, heartfelt condolences to that family and organization over what's going on recently. Because, like I said, it humanizes us all when there's something like that occurs. Like I said, at 46 years old, it's oof. That's a tough pill to swallow.
No, for sure, especially because to McLovin's point is, when you were a kid, you thought heart attacks. That was people in their 70s, right? You're just like,
easily.
It's like grandparents, stuff like that. And then, as you've gotten older, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh man, like people younger than me are passing away from these things. Like, oh, it's a little different.
Yeah, I had an uncle that worked out at one of the refineries out here in Houston, and I think it was early to mid 50s, and he was walking at work one day, and they said that he leaned up on one of the generators there, and he didn't move, and they went over and checked on him, and he had a heart attack, and he passed away just leaning up on a generator. I mean, out of nowhere, and I mean, even 50s is still a young age. I mean,
for sure, absolutely.
Never know, man.
Yeah, I get it because I'm 51. I know. It's like,
yeah, you are 51, you old bastard.
You're older than I am. There, ugly. So
is the main takeaway on that is to keep working? Don't take time off during the job.
You know what I think it is though? I think the thing about it is to keep active, keep busy. Enjoy your life. I think once you stop doing that, then yeah.
Yep. No, I mean, and it's why, it's why we do what we do, right? We could be doing anything else, but we enjoy this. And so here we are.
Yeah. I mean, we can't all have superior genetics like George Burns. The guy smoked a cigar every day of his life and lived to be 100. Like
Keith
you would think of anything, a cigar. I mean, I don't know if they inhale, but still, you would think that.
How about Betty White?
Yeah.
She lived a long time too. Dang.
Yeah. No, and that's why I say Keith. What's that?
She passed away, did she?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she passed away just not too long ago. What, maybe a year or so, maybe?
Yeah, she passed away during COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. And she looked like she was going to make it to 100. I think she died just shy of it, but
yeah, it was just shy. It was like a couple months. Something
yeah,
like that.
Like she was right there.
Yeah, and then you have like Dick Van Dyke. And I first off, being a chimney sweep, an ex-chimney sweep, he was the most famous chimney sweep there was in the world. And they do a birthday party for him every year at Disney, and he knows the songs and the dances better than the people that they pay to sing with him and dance with him. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's why I always laugh about Keith Richards, right? Dude is 1,000 years old, done every drug known to man. And he's still out there
going like a champ. Well, hey, and his cohort right there next to him, Mick Jagger.
Yep.
But that's because they go and they get those blood transfusions that are always, they're clearing it all up. They go down to Costa Rica, they get all the stem cells and everything.
You tell me how Ozzy Osbourne is still alive on the face of the earth. That man lived in a cocaine coma. Literally.
Money definitely helps.
Yes.
You're probably right.
There are definitely more ways to die when you have a lot of money. There's also more ways to live.
Hey, listen, I agree. You're right. Because look, I read about Ozzy's bio. I saw what his life was, and it was 100% drinking, smoking, and getting high 24/7, where he didn't even know where he was all of his life, and that this guy's still pumping and going like it's no big deal.
Well,
that was most of the band.
Bats.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't forget,
and that was most of the band.
Yeah, don't forget the bat. He made it through that too. Like real bat. Like, okay, whatever.
Next level crazy right there.
Hey, I'm just saying. And I'm sorry. One last thing. Have you noticed that when Ozzy Osbourne sings, he's clear? I can understand every damn thing he says. But the minute he stops singing, I can't stand a damn thing. It was like a whole bunch of Charlie Brown stuff.
That's actually a lot of singers though, because when you think of tons of them that have accents from whatever country they're from, when they sing, the accents are mostly gone, right? And then when they talk, you're just like, oh, interesting. I had no idea.
Even like the actors, though, like you have all these actors that are from all these different parts of the world, and then they sound like they're straight out some, American, I guess. They have the American accent, and then they talk for normal, and it's like Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman is a perfect example of that. He's from Australia or South Africa, is he not? Like in He's got
I
that.
think he might be Australian. I'm pretty sure he's Australian.
Yeah, one or the other, but because they sound similar. But
Right.
ultimately, it's like, damn, you never would have guessed that just listening to watching any movie that he's in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they have some kind of brain shift or something when they're not acting and they go back to their normal, I guess, way of speaking.
Well, I mean, acting makes sense anyway, because a lot of times they're asked to mimic other accents anyway. So usually they have very, very skilled voice control. But that's why I picked singers out, because singers are very unique. And like Phil Collins, for example, you listen to him talk versus when he sings, it sounds like a very different human.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard Phil Collins talk or listened to him talk.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay. Well, and there you have it. So I've heard Phil Collins talk and I've heard him sing, Yeah, I guess you could say the same thing to him, but he's got his accent is not that strong, and you can hear it sometimes in his music.
Sometimes.
So
because like it's not as strong as like what Ozzy has. Like Ozzy has a super thick accent.
Yeah.
Either that or he just can't talk.
But he also talks like he's got a bunch of marbles in his mouth.
He does.
He 100% talks like the speaker system in every airport when you're trying to hear your flight called. It's like a mouthful of oatmeal.
Yeah, that's actually yeah.
That's the way it works. It's like, hey, that's why Ozzy is that guy. Tell you all the knowledge that you could get, sports, music, it doesn't matter. We can get it here on Coast to Coast. So
it may not be useful, but man, we have it.
Hey, I think it's mostly because I take y'all on segues and y'all are like, where the hell is he going?
So I want to talk a few minutes for the last 20 minutes here, since I'm seeing this right here, and we're talking about guys that are possibly going to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame this year, and guys that are up for it. It's they have the announcement approaching on who's going to make it to the Hall of Fame. We have the two players that they have listed here specifically is Chase Utley and David Wright. Now, before I get into I am not real happy with the Baseball Hall of Fame anyways, I want to know what your thoughts are on, one, the Hall of Fame, and then two, whether you think that either one of those two should make it.
So those guys are finalists? Is that
they are finalists? They are finalists.
I want to say I would probably go more for David Wright than I would Chase Utley. Not like Utley, but I would lean more towards David Wright and what he's done.
Okay. So you're going more David Wright. How about that Billy Wagner? Let's go.
I love Wags.
Gary Sheffield.
Sheffield Wagner for ahead of the first two for sure.
Andrew Jones.
Yeah. Jeez.
Todd Helton.
God, doesn't.
I mean, that's another one where I think Helton would be ahead of the first two.
Really? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Look, when I think of Billy Wagner,
in this too, right? Beltre's in this one. Is that right?
He is. He may be. Let me check on a different site. So,
I like what Billy Wagner did for the closing position. I mean, this guy was a shutdown guy. Literally, he's not a Mario Rivera by any means. I don't want to put him in that category, right? But if there were tiers, I got like Mario Rivera, like kind of like at the top of that tier, and I'm talking about in terms of the closing position. But I put Billy Wags either in that second or third tier, right up underneath that, at that closing position for what he did. And I watched him years and years and years in Texas. I mean, with Houston. I just knew when Billy Wags came on, and Enter Sandman came on, it was done. Billy was going to come in, he was going to knock it out, and we were going to get off the field, and we got the win. And he did it every damn time, all the time.
I think of the names you gave me, Wagner and Sheffield would probably be the two that I like the most out of that list.
So Sheffield, it's his 10th year on the ballot. Wagner, it's his 9th year on the ballot. So let's go with here's who's on the ballot. And there's a lot of names. So 26 in all. So Todd Helton, Billy Wagner, Andrew Jones, Gary Sheffield, Carlos Beltran, who's his 2nd year on the ballot, Alex Rodriguez, who's his 3rd year on the ballot, Manny Ramirez, who's his 8th year on the ballot, Omar Vizquel, 7th year, Andy Pettit, 6th year, Bobby Abreu, 5th year, Jimmy Rollins, 3rd year, Mark Brewer, 4th year, Francisco Rodriguez, his 2nd year, Torrey Hunter, his 4th year. Guys that choose their first ballots. Adrian Beltre, Joe Mauer, Chase Utley, David Wright, Bartolo Colon, Matt Holliday, Adrian Gonzalez, Jose Bautista, Jose Reyes, Victor Martinez, James Shields, and Brandon Phillips.
Well, first of all, I was looking at, David Wright had a 296 average. I don't know how he's 7-time, I think it was 2-time Silver Slugger. So I want to say it was 7-time Gold Glove. I mean, the guy, if we're never looking between him and Utley, it's going to be him. Against some of the other guys, I still think he kind of holds it against some of those other guys for sure. I don't know how Andy Pettit's not in the Hall of Fame during that Yankees, episode that he went there, especially what he did with Houston. I thought Andy Pettit was a highly qualified pitcher that I felt like should have been in.
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of cool to see Omar Vizquel get in. Like, that would be cool.
And how's Bartolo Colon not? That dude could come back at 60 and still pitch probably 4 or 5 innings. I mean,
First year on the ballot.
Bartolo at 50 still
it's his first year on the ballot.
Okay.
Okay, I got you. But how has he not been on the ballot before? Well, I guess because he pitched. Shit, he pitched
48.
Or 48? Was it 48?
I don't know. I'm lying about that.
I know Bartolo pitched. He's like a grandfather out there. He got grandkids. He out there pitching still. At a pretty effective level, too. When he, even in his later years, he's fairly effective.
So Adrian Beltre is the one that kind of probably looks like he's
a first ballot in.
Yeah, he might.
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so.
He doesn't have enough votes as of yet. Like, it looks like that he's not quite there yet, but he's going to be close. He's going to be really close. Chase Utley and David Wright, this is their first time on the ballot too, so I don't necessarily know. I'm a firm believer that I'm not a fan of the Baseball Hall of Fame anymore. I think it's the Hall of somewhat good, because when they put in Scott Rowland last year and he was the only one that made it, I'm like, really, Scott Rowland? He wasn't even the best third baseman during the time he played. So I'm not a big fan of the way they do the Baseball Hall of Fame. I feel, like I said, it's the Hall of somewhat good. Put in the people that are supposed to go in. Mine is Pete Rose, who I know they're going to put in posthumously. They're waiting for that guy to die, and they say only the good die young. Not with Pete.
Oh, don't even give me about Pete Rose. I've been lobbying forever to let that guy in. It's ridiculous. Come on, man.
You gotta wait. You gotta wait for him to die.
Man.
You gotta wait for him to die.
If you don't like what he did as a coach, don't let him in as a coach. But as a player, you're not gonna let the hick. The dude is still the hicking. Nobody's passed him, and you're not letting the best guy that ever played the game. Fuck these people.
Right. Don't worry. He'll be in there. But they're not going to give him any of the accolades. They're giving him none of the accolades while he's alive.
Yeah.
If he was a nicer guy, if he wasn't such a horse's ass all of the time, they'd maybe consider it. they'd
Yeah.
maybe consider.
Okay,
it
but this
different.
isn't the nice guy competition. This is who deserves it, okay?
Yeah, I
it's
understand.
funny,
Come
though.
on now. Look,
a
don't make
voting
this
game.
one of those things where I got to kiss ass to get in the damn
It's
damn
a-
Hall of
it's a-
Fame. That's bullshit.
Every single Hall of Fame is a voting game. It's all about
I
who you are.
understand it is. But people, and that's what I'm saying. That's why, to Pag's point, it's not. It's watered down horse shit.
No,
All right,
no.
are you going to let him talk now? Are you going to let him talk now?
Even the NFL, right? I mean, T.O. wasn't a first ballot. He should have been statistically, but he wasn't, right? So, I mean, and a lot of that had to do with off the field stuff, whether it was true or perceived or whatever, it doesn't matter. It affected the votes. And, it's true for the NFL. It's true for the MLB. Basketball's a little different. They just kind of let everybody in. But,
I think I think we lost him. Mark McGuire, he definitely froze up there.
yeah, yes. Yeah. So sorry, guys. I keep having the lights flicker a little bit. So I've been waiting for the power to drop out or something during this show. But so I've had a couple of little stalled out spots. But anyway, unfortunately, all of the awards, all of the Hall of Fames, like stats matter to a degree, but it comes down to likability and votes. For example, with the NFL, Eli Manning's going to get in, but if you look at his stats aren't great. His stats don't say Hall of Famer. He has 2 Super Bowl rings that probably put him over the edge, right? That probably helped get him in, but he was a likable guy. He's a Manning, and his stats are good enough to get the consideration. So, I mean, all of the Hall of Fames are kind of watered down to the Hall of pretty good.
Yeah, but baseball more so. Yeah,
Sure.
And I feel like that out of all of the different sports, baseball is the one that really takes this to the nth degree, because if you're a baseball writer and you get like Mark McGuire should absolutely be in there. He absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame. If we go back, and tested the DNA of Babe Ruth, I'd be willing to bet that he was probably doing some steroids.
Babe was drunk half the damn time he was at the plate, Pags. What do you know about baseball? Dude was drunk half the time at the plate. Come on. Dude went out there and prostituted and ate every damn night, barely even slept, out there hitting home runs. Come on. Do better. Give me better.
Darryl Strawberry used to go out and do the same thing.
Absolutely. And that dude could hit rockets.
Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Good. I mean, that's here nor there. But don't you ever disrespect Bambino.
What? What?
Don't
out there. He may have been doing steroids.
Don't you say Bambino and then say Mark McGuire and Barry Bonds.
Just cause you have this. There we go. We got him. That's right. We get to talk to.
Every show. Every show.
I'm just saying that's just disrespectful to Bambino, man.
Funny thing is, he was talking the whole time.
Exactly. Anyways, what I'm saying is that with all the different things, if it was, listen, Mickey Mantle was the same way. He was not a likable guy. Ty Cobb, they said, was just a straight out bastard. But you know what? He was great at baseball.
Yep.
So I mean, all of those things shouldn't get into the point of it. These guys were the best at their craft. They're better than everybody else during the time that they were doing it. That's alone should get them in. I don't care that they took whatever vitamins they took. That's what I'm getting at. So to your point with the Bambino, I don't care. He deserved to be there. He absolutely deserved to be there. Who cares what he took or how he took them? You know what I mean? I don't care about it.
What's mad though, Pags, is they're going to, like you said, and I agree with you, they're going to wait until Pete Rose dies. They're going to try to get him in the Hall of Fame. And I'm sorry, if I'm Pete Rose's relatives and you come to me with some shit like that, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give you the middle finger. So you know what? You couldn't do it when he was alive. Now you want to do it when he's dead? Come on.
Listen, that's the thing. He doesn't have any relatives.
Yeah.
They're all gone. They're all gone.
Gone. So ain't nobody going to come to everybody will celebrate what he did, but that's definitely going to happen posthumously. He's going to die. He's going to die, and then he's going in because they don't want him to have any of the accolades of doing it.
And that's just bad as a human being raised, man. Come on. We're just bad.
Well, like I said, had he been contrite in any amount at all, they would have done this. There was a time he was working towards that, and then he became a douche again.
Well, he wrote the letter. I remember him writing the letter and that big, long, heartfelt letter, and I really thought that might get him in.
Yeah, and then he went out and wound up like smacking some 16-year-old girl or something. Like it was so ridiculous.
Oh, I didn't catch that one, but okay.
Yeah, I missed that. That's wow.
Yeah, maybe I'm telling the story a little wrong, but I mean, it's either way. It's like it is what it is. I mean, he's the one person that we could talk about the most, but I almost agree with now. Like I gave him his opportunity, and then every time he opens his mouth, he puts his foot in it in a big, big way. And ultimately, we all live by that same stuff. If we say something completely wrong, we get canceled.
Oh, for sure.
Because he had such a great baseball life and played the game a very specific way, he gets passes after pass after pass after pass. Well, guess what? No more passes, asshole. That's how you get it. That's how that works. So now we'll wait till you're dead, and then somebody will say, "Yeah, Pete Rose was the best at playing the game in his era, and has more hits than everybody else, and did this and did that and did this and did that and did this and did that, and now he's dead."
And he may never get in. It may just be a footnote that says, honorable mention, douche canoe. Hit a lot of balls.
Well, I mean, look how long they've kept Shoeless Joe Jackson out. He's not ever going to get in. I don't think either. So,
right, yeah, and he's been dead for a while.
Yeah,
so
a long while.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Same thing with like Barry Bonds not getting in. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Mark McGwire. I mean, I remember the McGwire, Sammy Sosa, going for the record, and that energized baseball. It was must-watch TV. You would go and switch. I
don't like the whole steroid thing. I don't, but I do understand the fact of putting bat on ball. You still gotta, still have good eye. Know what pitches to hit, which ones to let. So I don't want to completely, disregard that aspect of hitting. But sometimes I gotta tell you, like a guy like Hank Aaron, and to Pax's point, we didn't drug test Hank Aaron. Maybe he was doing some stuff. I don't want to say that because if it hasn't been proven, in my opinion, it didn't happen. So I hate to see a guy like Hank Aaron who played the game 100% legit. And then you get a guy who's, over here roided up a little bit to get that ball a few extra feet to get over there. To me, that's just a little bit. It's not on the same playing field. So
yeah, but the truth of the matter is that,
but hold on. What I'm saying is, I do believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I don't want to say that Barry Bonds absolutely belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I do think he still deserves an asterisk next to that home run record because Hank didn't juice, and that's a little.
How do you know that?
That's still a little bit of a difference for me.
You don't know that.
There's no way to know that. Plus,
but you can't say that guy's guilty either without having evidence, Pags. And you can't put that on somebody because that's disrespectful.
That being said, he hit all those bombs off of pitchers that were juicing.
Right, exactly. Everybody was on the juice.
If I'm going up to a plate and I don't have a history of doping, and I'm going up against a guy who has a history of doping obviously is there for a reason. It's to give you an advantage.
Sure.
So I don't think that should be allowed in the same, because if that's the case, we need to go back and look at Josh Gibson and pull all of his records from the Negro Leagues, and I'm pretty sure Josh Gibson has a case.
He may be, but I don't know who Josh Gibson is. That being
you know
said,
who Josh Gibson is?
But we'll save that for tomorrow's show. After we talk about the NFL, we'll bring this back up again. We will talk about this because obviously this is a hot stove button for McLovin here. You know, so all you got to do is just say that Babe Ruth took some steroids, and next thing you know, McLovin forgets about football, forgets about the Cowboys, and he goes on a tirade. So we will talk about that tomorrow on how many different drugs that Babe Ruth did and why he should not be in the Hall of Fame. So
be sure to stay in
thank you very much. Everybody, thank you very much for hanging with us today and all the different messages and stuff like that. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about this on how many different ways we can get under Jay McLovin's skin.
Pretty much.
Talk to you later. Have a good one.
Take it easy, guys.